Hello, and welcome to my channel. This is Anne's Aesthetics, where we do fun little paintings, relaxing time, just a place where we can all vibe together. And today I'm going to be giving you this 4-part Pirates of the Caribbean, Willy Wonka, Mad Hatter, and Edward Scissorhands, Johnny Depp painting canvas. I apologize for being so stuffy, but I'm allergic to dogs, and I just petted a dog and held it right before filming, which was probably not the best idea, but now I'm all stuffed up. This is parts of his shirt. I'm using an off-white, just mixing some white with some tan color to create this new color. Now I'm going to add this orange shade to create his skin tone color. Jack Sparrow is a little more tan from being out in the Caribbean sun all day, so I wanted to have that little bronze glow, and then I will end up doing some contouring to his face as well to give a little more brown to his face, just to make it all tanned and fresh. Tone down the yellowness a little bit. I added a little bit more Sunkissed Peach shade to kind of put that on top of the yellow to make it look a little bit lighter and not so yellow, like I said. So for the mustache, I'm going to take a extremely detailed brush, one that is super small. I just bought a pack on Amazon. It had like 30 of them in there, and they're so detailed. I really do like them, so check it out. But I'm taking a black shade first, and I'm drawing a bunch of little hairs. This is sped up, so don't think it went by this quick, lol. And then I'm also going to do a bunch of little hairs for his little goatee he's got, but keep in mind we're only doing half of the goatee because the other half will be Edward Scissorhands. And that is the first layer for our mustache and goatee, and this is his little like beard braid, I guess you could call it. And I'm going to use black to outline where the braid will fold into one another. Now it's time to add some black into this base layer of hair so that we can start that first layer of depth. And I'm just using it for the background of the hair and a little bit in the hair so that when we create these little squiggly lines, it will look like there's a little section of hair back there. I'm using all different shades of brown for this. Light brown, dark brown, yellow tones, very light browns, and just applying them to the canvas and really making sure they dry before I apply another squiggly line on top of them. That way it's giving the effect of multiple layers and depths and different pieces of individual strands. It's time for Johnny Depp's or Jack Sparrow's little beard. So again, just little tiny strands of hair, very small detail brush. And while I'm letting that beard dry, I'm going back in with the hair, doing more and more layers. Really a lot of patience, but it's pretty easy to do. Now if you're taking a look at the background of this canvas, you'll notice it was green and blue, and I just mixed those colors together, blended them, and then drew a little bit of black lines with some red to create a little map background. Now we're moving along to the Willy Wonka face. Willy Wonka's pretty pale, so we just gave him a very sun-kissed peach face. And I'm using a orange acrylic marker to outline my first squiggly line. I'm going to do several of these in this shade, but orange is going to be the first color that we use today. Now I'm switching over to blue, and I'm also going to use this for several different little swirlies. I actually, while I was painting all of these, I ended up watching the first Pirates of the Caribbean. I watched Willy Wonka the other day. I watched Alice in Wonderland. The only one I have not watched is Edward Scissorhands, so I debated it, but I just need to, finish off with following through. But it was really fun to watch these and paint them at the same time and see it all come together. I actually started this painting, I did a drawing version of it when I was much younger, and it was so well. However, I never completed it. So when I started this channel, I was thinking the other day, I really want to recreate this and actually finish it this time. And I love the process of doing this because as I was getting towards the end, I kept looking at the canvas versus the piece of paper, and I'm like, oh, which one's which? Like, obviously, you can tell the difference between a canvas and a piece of paper, but from initial glance, it was like, which one is which? We've added red swirlies, we're adding yellow swirlies, and then I also did a little bit of like a aqua turquoise swirly. And now I'm using black to start for our base of Willy Wonka's hat. We're going to add a little bit more on top of it. So grab your dark green shades because that's going to be the next one that you'll use for the hat. Right there, you see we're putting that dark green on the outer left portion of the hat and the lower portion of that left part of the hat, and just to give a little green hue to it and blending that in. The black underneath is still wet, and that allows us to blend this together better. And I took some brown that was left over from Pirates of the Caribbean and used that to just finish the hair. And I decided on a purplish blue color to bring all these swirlies together. So I'm using that acrylic marker to draw the inner swirl for each of these little bad boys. For copyright purposes, the music is soft by the band or individual washed out. While on the topic of copyright, if you want to find the original inspiration for today's painting, you can check out my Pinterest in the description box below. If you go to that Pinterest, you'll find a board called Art and Drawings, and under that board there is this four-piece I keep saying Pirates of the Caribbean, four-piece Johnny Depp is what we'll call it, piece. And you can see the original artist, go check them out. You can view the own post yourself so that you can recreate this if you'd like. But moving along, we're going to take a dark green shade for the background of this Alice in Wonderland painting. And those little things that are drawn on this background are little hats. It's a little bit hard to tell, but they are hats. So we're going to just color dark green all around them with this angled paintbrush. I like to use angled paintbrushes when I'm trying to get in tight spaces because you can use that tip part to really get in those tight spaces. Oh, yes. Believe it or not, we are going to go back to the original Jack Sparrow hair and add even more layers. I'm taking these shades to add more layers to this hair to create different shades and depths and perceptions. And I'm using a very small detailed brush. And I'm going to keep doing this process until all of the white is completely covered in the background. We're going to give them a little bit of highlights to just make that hair pop a little bit more. And yes, that coffee looks disgusting in the background, but I swear it was fresh brewed. I don't know why it looks like that though. But yeah, that's just coffee. Now I'm using a dark purple shade for the background of this Willy Wonka section. It is going to make these swirlies pop, and it's going to go so well with the colors that we originally have, so I'm very excited for this. Taking a very small brush, I am putting red in the center of these sunglasses or whatever they are, and then I am using that dark purple shade to go around the glasses and just taking that in a circular shape. And once I do that, I will blend the two together to create a beautiful gradient. For the rims of the glasses, I'm just using a white shade and applying them with another small detail brush. We're using that same brush to draw detail lines on the hat using a white shade. I want to add some fine details to this Jack Sparrow section, so I'm taking some leftover brown I had, and I'm very faintly drawing some lines to create some shadows underneath the clothing, and then I'm using it on the sleeve to create some ripples as well, and using my finger to slightly blend them out. And then I'm just taking a black paint and a little paintbrush to do some detailing on the clothing. I'm going to switch back to that Alice in Wonderland Mad Hatter section and apply a second layer of that dark green. And then I am going in, I mixed that green with a darker black to create a dark green, and I'm using this for the hats in the background. I didn't have the orange I wanted to complete this project, so I mixed some oranges together to create like a vibrant, bright orange. And then I was a little too lazy to switch my brushes, so I just kind of wiped that one off and then blended this orange together until I could see no more green. And I used that for his hair. We're also going to use this for the base of the eyebrows. Taking a more angled brush, I'm going to use this for the wispier hairs on his head. If you didn't notice, I also laid down an off-white for the playing card that lays on top of the Mad Hatter's hat. Now I need to create a new green for the hat. So I'm taking a little bit lighter green to 2 parts of darker green, and I'm mixing all that together, and this ended up being the perfect shade for the hat. So we're going to use this to just apply it all over to give that first base layer. I included some time-lapse clips in here so that this video wouldn't be too long. I knew there was going to be a ton of content in this video, so I just wanted to include some more sped-up parts. We did all of the detailing on Willy Wonka. Basically, that side is finished. And now it's time to work on the eyeshadow for the Mad Hatter. So I'm taking a blue shade and I'm going to apply it in brushing in circular motions and then use my finger to really blend that out. And I'm going to do the same thing with a red shade on the under eye and blend that out with a finger that has a little more of a lighter touch. We're also going to use the red today to draw out where his nose is going to be. I'm cracking open my small brushes pencil case holder, and we are going to pick one and use this for the eye detailing. I'm starting off with a black circle, and I'm going to continue while I still have the black out and do these small detailings on the card with the 6 at the bottom and the 10 at the top. Finish the fine detailing on the hat. I'm going to draw some lines, and then I'm going to end up blending out those lines to just make them look like more ripples in fabric rather than just straight lines across. So we filled in the eye with green, obviously, for his eye, and then we're going back over it with some black for the little pupil, and I'm using that same orange shade from earlier. I just wanted it to dry so that I could go on top of it and have a better view of the angle, and I'm finishing off that eyebrow, and then we finally get to start our Edward Scissorhands section. This is also our final section that we have to work on, and in my opinion, it was one of the easiest sections to do. So I worked with the color black first because I figured the more black I do, the more that's going to get done with this canvas. So I'm starting with the hair and just working around where his ear would be and creating those little strands. And it was really nice for his hair because obviously most of it is black, all of it is black. So I was able to just solidly color in the hair and then do little strings on the end to create that effect instead of having to do the different layers of brown. Continuing with the black, I'm going to start working on the coat now, and I'm using a kind of small brush, but you could use a bigger brush for this. I just knew I was going to have to get in the tiny little nooks and crannies of those buttons and those buckles. I'm switching to a pale yellow for the background of this section of the canvas, and I'm just going to outline around all of those little bolts and whatever they are, nooks and crannies, and it was a tedious process and it could have been done better, but just keep with it and you'll get through it, I promise. Now, Edward's face is pretty pale, so I'm using a shade that is lighter than the Willy Wonka and lighter than also the Jack Sparrow face, but obviously darker than the white used for the Mad Hatter. So I'm starting off with the leftover face color I had for Jack Sparrow and the Willy Wonka, and then I'm going to go over it with a little bit lighter shades to kind of lighten it up a little bit. For some of these bad boys, I'm going to be using this super beautiful gold metallic acrylic marker. I got these off of Amazon. I'm also going to use some of this gold metallic marker for the buttons and the buckle on the bottom of his jacket. However, I'm not going to use it for the buckles on the top of his neck just because it's, in my opinion, not small enough to get those fine of details. While I still have the gold marker out, I'm going to use it to draw the little gems that are sticking out like as pins on his hat. So we're going to be drawing 3 of these. The one on the left is going to be a circle, the one in the middle is going to be like a diamond, and then the one on the right will end up being a blue circle. And I'm just going to do a second layer on the dark green hats. And then I'm going to switch back down to the lower section to work on finishing up the little hairs that are sticking out of his head. Per usual, while I have the black still out and a very small detail brush, I'm going to finish the detailing on the hair for the Mad Hatter. Moving right along, I'm going to use the black to fill in some of those buckles. Then I'm going to use a bright yellow to finish the buckles that are on his neck. The next little gadget color is going to be red, so I'm pulling out my barn red to do some of those. The final color I'll be using for the little gears is the shade gray, and I will be using it for the last two that you see here. We're getting pretty close to the end of this painting. I just have to finish up the face. I wanted to do some satisfying peel art for you guys. I always use this and it's so satisfying to peel off. It just comes right off unless I'm using the 54-cent cheap paints and it doesn't peel as easily. But I'm just adding the details to the eyebrow and I'm going to finish using that red for the same red that we used for the gears. It's going to be used for the under eye of Edward and the little blush on his cheeks. Meantime, I also put purple on his lips to get those shaped. Finishing up the details on this canvas. Those white eyelashes really made the Mad Hatter come to life, and it was just a perfect touch. But I'm going to just finish up the face for Edward, and I'm working on his ear right now. And then to finish off this canvas, I decided to do a black border. I really didn't know if I wanted to do a colorful one or just a black solid one, but here's what the finished product ended up looking like. I really hope you all enjoyed today's tutorial, that maybe you'll consider subscribing, liking, and sharing with a friend. Don't forget to leave a comment if you're in the mood for it, and I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye now.